I said it on Wednesday, and I think I got to ask again. Who are these Tar Heels, and what have they done with the 2024-25 version of this team?
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Saturday, February 28th, 2025. Welcome into this live postcast reaction show edition of the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I want to thank you for making us your first listener watch right after the game to get all your Tar Heels content. Special shout out to all you Locked On Tar Heels insiders joining us, the Locked On Tar Heels Discord family, and of course, all the everydayers that are here. Okay, Carolina wins again quite comfortably, 81-66. Maybe could have been more. We'll talk about that later. Over Virginia, they pushed their record to 17-11 overall, 10-6 in the ACC. It's a 3-game winning streak. KenPom has updated. Carolina stays at 44th there. So, again, you would have liked a little bit more efficiency and margin, maybe climb, but we'll see. It is not a therapy session. This is a celebration. And in terms of our 6 games we were watching for, that Carolina just simply cannot lose ahead of the Duke matchup to wrap the regular season. 2 weeks from today? Wow, that's crazy. Carolina just has to keep winning. And in that regard, 3 down, 3 to go. So what they're doing is just doing everything they can to make each successive game a meaningful game, right? As soon as you take a loss, it takes the meaning right out of it. So just keep winning. That's what Carolina has done now over Syracuse, NC State, and Virginia. So what we'll do today is what we always do on these live postcast reaction shows. For those of you listening back later, thank you so much. If you're watching with us in real time on YouTube, so glad you are here. Welcome in. Let's get after it. Carolina has won wire to wire now in 3 straight games. I mentioned it last Saturday after the Syracuse when I was like, look, it wasn't the prettiest win, but Carolina literally never trailed. And then against NC State, literally never trailed. And again today against Virginia, same thing. And Carolina had only previously done that twice all season. Now they've done it 3 times in a row. I hadn't gone back and looked at it, so I was grateful to the broadcast for telling us it's the first time any Carolina team has done that since the 18-19 team. That team was ridiculous. I still contend they were only held down by that flu or whatever that virus was that we caught from Iona. Is that who it was, right? Anyway, I get frustrated anytime I think about that. So Carolina has done this. Dominated the beginning of this game. Just quick run out despite 3 turnovers in the first 4 possessions. Still that massive lead. So what is leading this Carolina team that has not been able to put together full wins to be able to do so lately? Well, a couple things I'll just say right off the top, and then we'll get to a couple others as we talk. But one of it is the lineup change that we've seen now, the starting lineup in the last 2 games, where Carolina has kept Elliot Cadeau and RJ Davis in the backcourt, brought in Drake Powell to play his natural 3 position, giving Carolina 3 or 4 more inches. It's not a disrespect to Seth Trimble coming off the bench now. As Coach Davis has talked about, just more about height and defense and what it gives Carolina. And then sticking also with Jalen Withers, who apparently you just can't take out of the lineup now, and Van Allen Lubin, who also had a really good game today, very efficient. And so that has been working for Carolina and allowing them to get out to these leads. And then you bring in the firepower of Ian Jackson off the bench. You bring the defense and effort and energy of Seth Trimble off the bench. And then you bring in Jay Wash off the bench as well. Even the past couple of games, Cade has been getting a few minutes and he's looked confident and comfortable in them. He hit that corner 3 in this game, his 3rd in the last 2 games. He fought through a screen to defend an alley-oop out of a slob play, a sideline out of bounds. So, just finding contribution in a lot of ways. Another reason these things have been going so well is Carolina's offensive efficiency. We've talked so much this season about how Carolina has really, the offense is what we were not worried about. But the Tar Heels had a whole bunch of games with stretches of 3-minute or more droughts. That's not really been happening lately. and we can look at the points per possession to tell us that story. Basically, for points per possession, you just want to get above 1.0. If you're under 1.0, it's like, we didn't do good. Anything above 1, and you're like, yes, that's great. Just to give you some context on it. Well, Carolina, for the game, had been above 1.3 in each of the last 2 games, both at Syracuse and Wednesday versus NC State. That was the first time this season that this really strong offense was even stronger to get 1.3 or higher in back-to-back games. Well, guess what? They did it again. The third straight game, the Tar Heels are above 1.3 in points per possession, 1.306 in this one. I mean, they're figuring things out there offensively. And another part of it is that it's coming. It's not just like Ian suddenly got hot again, although he is hot again. It's not just suddenly one other like it happened today with RJ Davis having, quite frankly, a very inefficient shooting game. But it was still a very balanced attack. Carolina had 5 different players in double figures, and all 9 Tar Heels that entered the game scored at least 2 points. We can absolutely take that. Now, this is mostly going to be a positive recap, but there are several critiques that we will have. First off, while I was talking about RJ there, let's just go ahead and say this. Carolina struggled at the rim in this game. RJ himself, unfortunately, was just lost it. 3 of 14 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3. He was 6 of 7 at the free throw line, just doing what he does there. But as a team, and RJ missed several of these himself, is why I bring it up. Carolina, my first critique, is struggled to finish at the rim. Just 9 of 25 on layups in this game. Got to finish more capably than that. The next critique is that stretch that happened early in the game. Carolina wins nicely by 15 points, right? Great. If I told you that, you would be, oh, wonderful. We beat Virginia by 15 points. That's like beating a normal team by 8 million. The problem, though, is that when I offer you some more about this game, like if you were just looking at the box score, you'd be like, oh, very nice job. The problem is Carolina led by 19 points early in the first half. It was 21-2 for crying out loud. And then they grew it out to 20 in the second half. Now, to Virginia's credit, they punched back. And in the second half, it was more about them fighting back. In the first half, though, that's where I want to critique. Because the issues were Carolina's self-inflicted injuries, self-inflicted problems that have hurt them all season long and stopped them from being the team that they can be. Now, thankfully, they had built such a margin today that even though Virginia was able to cut the lead down to 7 from that 19-point lead in the first half, Carolina just kept pushing it back out. But it was turnovers and technical fouls that allowed UVA to do that. And thankfully, a lot of times what we've seen this season is a team will cut into the lead and then it gets down to like 2 by halftime. Virginia got it down to 7, but Carolina pushed it back to double digits and to 12 at the half. Honestly, it was almost 14 at the half. That ball was just barely not out of Elliott's hands right before the halftime buzzer, but that was the right call there. It was still definitely on his fingertips. But I want to talk about those issues. I already mentioned Carolina had 3 turnovers in the first 4 possessions of the game. And then for the entire first half, Carolina had 8 turnovers. Now, here's the good news. I have given Elliott a hard time lately. I've been pretty critical of him. And look, I always tell you, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. But when we need to critique and say this has to be better, no problem doing that. And I want to give you that so you can see both sides of it. Elliott has not been great lately in those regards. He was strong today. Really proud of him. Had 2 turnovers. They were both in the first half, but 0 in the second half from him. So he is not the only culprit of these first half turnovers. Let me, in fact, go look at it and tell us. In the first half, 2 for Elliott, 1 for RJ, 2 for Van Allen Lubin, 1 for Jay Witt, and then 1 each for Ian Jackson and Jay Wash. And so that was spread around. But the problem is you just can't have all those turnovers. Now, a couple helpful things in that turnover regard. Virginia helped out by having more than Carolina in the first half, 9. And the more important thing is that Carolina only had 2 turnovers in the second half. So really dried up the well there and kept things in check in the second half. The other problem that really allowed Virginia to hang around and be there in the first half were the technical fouls, the flagrant one, and then the T on Jalen Withers. Let's start with the flagrant one on Jalen Washington. As far as that goes, I can live with that I don't want to live with that, but I can live with it because the refs got it right within the letter of the law. My issue is not what the refs called in this game. My issue is with what the rule itself is. I did not think that what he did was enough to warrant that in terms of what I think the rules should be. But as the rules are written, that is a flagrant one. I get that. That one, if you're Coach Davis, you huddle the troops and say, hey, tough blow, guys. Let's rally and let's get it back. The problem was compounded when Jalen Withers hit that three in the corner right in front of Virginia's bench, right by the referee, and was chirping and talking. He's got to know better than that, man. He's a fifth-year player. He's playing so well. And I'm a big proponent, and I hope this doesn't sound like old man yelling at the sun or whatever, but just let your game do the talking, man. Yeah, it's fine to have fun, but just like, especially like Carolina really has no room to talk, right? Like, we're not having the best basketball year. So it's like, dude, just keep your mouth shut, play the game. That's where I feel on that, especially because 34 seconds of game time earlier, we had the flagrant one. So those kind of things are exactly what is keeping Carolina from winning just period earlier this season. But now, right now, winning by the amount they need to, because here is the problem, folks. As Carolina is trying to make up ground, trying to prove they belong in the NCAA tournament, it's not just about wins or losses. Even if you win, you need to win dominantly in this day and age, because that's what KenPom and the net and other predictive computer metrics are looking for. Not just wins, but wildly efficient big margin wins. That's why you might keep your starters in a game longer than you otherwise would in this day and age, because you got to push it out. So had those two things not happened, again, I can live with the first one. I understand it. It happens. That's basketball. But the Jalen Withers one was self-inflicted. Got to weed that out. Because if that doesn't happen, this could have been a 25 or 30 point win, and then you've elevated yourself even better. I'll say it this way. Without context, it's a comfortable 12-point lead at the half. But Carolina led that game by 19 early. Turnovers and those two technical fouls gave the Cavaliers life that they should not have had. Given the position Carolina is in bubble-wise, it's not just about winning, it's about winning decisively. And that's where they got to go from now. Now, again, as I said, I just wanted to hit a couple critiques because I want to praise the crud out of this Tar Heels team for another really, really solid performance that they, and I think we as Carolina fans, can be very proud of. So I want to get to that, talk about this crazy three-point shooting run that Carolina is on as a team right now, and Jalen Withers individually, second chance points domination in this game, and a whole bunch more coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about our good friends at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. And there's no better place to get in on that than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to get in on like a fourth quarter comeback, something like that, you can stay in on that action. And for a bigger payout, you can combine some of these live bets into a same-game parlay. One of the best things with FanDuel, when you win, man, you get paid instantly. I love that. Carolina, one of the things that FanDuel has right now, odds is for several different teams like that are on the bubble. Will they or won't they make the tournament? Carolina's odds to make the tournament right now are set at plus 165. That might change after this win. We'll see what happens there. But right now, FanDuel customers, new ones, can go get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, we're going to get a little drink here. And for those of you watching, you see I've got the box score from the game pulled up so that you can follow along with some of what we are talking about. One of the big things we were watching in this game was three-point shooting. Both ways, by the way. Not just for the Tar Heels, who have been on fire lately from three, but also Virginia, who came into this game as the 27th best shooting team from three in the entire nation. Let's start with Carolina. The question was, could they continue to stay hot? Coming into this game, Carolina against Syracuse had gone 13 for 28. Against NC State had gone 8 for 20, meaning that Carolina was 21 of their last 48 from three, which I erased my percentage on that, but that's 43.8%. Very good, right? Well, guess what? It got even better because of this game. Carolina goes 9 of 16 from 3 in this game, now pushing their 3-game three-point shooting average up to 46.9%. And RJ didn't even hit one today, y'all. That's what's crazy about it. And so for Carolina, I mean, Coach Davis, to his credit, has said all season long, this is a better three-point shooting team than they are showing any of us in games. Excuse me. Is that now bearing itself out? Coach Rob and I talked about this earlier in this week. Like, yes, it's 2 games. Is that just a small sample size? Or are they starting to reveal who they truly are now? Coach Rob, much to his credit, said, no, I think this is what Carolina really could be. And here they are again, 9 of 16 in this game. Let me say a couple other things about what Carolina is doing from 3. The important thing in this 3-game stretch is that it's not just like just Ian or just Jalen Withers. It's coming from a whole bunch of different sources. In the Syracuse game, 5 different Tar Heels had at least 1 3. Jalen Withers, RJ Davis, Jalen Washington, Drake Powell, Ian Jackson. Against State on Wednesday, again, 5 different Tar Heels made a 3. Jalen Withers, Elliot Cadeau, Ian Jackson, Cade Tyson, and RJ Davis. Today against Virginia, a little smaller, but still 4 different Tar Heels made a shot from 3. Drake Powell, Jalen Withers, Cade Tyson, and Ian Jackson. What does that do? It says, okay, defense, we've got to start getting out and getting a hand up now. That opens up the lane for guys like Van Allen Lubin or Jalen Washington, or opens driving lanes where if they've got like people, the thing we always talk about is when you get a kick out 3 and the guy has to recover to you, that we call that a closeout. You drive the closeout, meaning all the defender's momentum is coming to you. You just blow by him. And because everyone's having to step out and guard the 3, you should be able to get to the rim and either finish, get fouled, or kick out to a wide open shooter. So that's what's great about this broad base of Tar Heels that are making 3s. Another part of this 3-point onslaught from Carolina is that a ton of it's happening in the first half. In this 3-game stretch, Carolina has made at least 6 threes in the first half of every single one of them. Against Syracuse, they made 7 in the first half. Against NC State, 7 in the first half. And today against Virginia, Carolina made 6. That's wonderful stuff. The Tar Heels averaging 10 made 3s a game over the last 3 games. We'll see if they can keep it going Monday at Florida State. As for the other side of the coin, again, we said Virginia was the better 3-point shooting team coming into this game, 37.6% on the season as a team. They were 27th nationally. What did they do today? Just 6 of 22. That's 27.3%. So Carolina, and you watch it. If you watch the defense, Carolina had some defensive struggles at times, but they were doing a really nice job of either running Virginia off the 3-point line or making them take and settle for deeper 3s. That's the way to go. Now, one other thing about 3-point shooting. Jalen Withers is on an absolutely otherworldly tear from 3 right now. In his last 14 games, so today and the previous 13, Jalen Withers is shooting 15 of 24 from 3. That's 62.5%. That is otherworldly good. I don't know if you have any, but it's like, if you hit 40% for a season, you're like, whoa, that's insane that you did that. Last 14 games. And by the way, that is, Carolina has played 20. So literally the half the season, Jalen Withers is shooting 62.5% from 3. My guys, that's crazy. At halftime, by the way, it was even a little bit higher. He was 14 of 21 in that stretch, 66.7%. I mean, it's crazy. You guys, for the season now, Jalen Withers is 44.6%, making 41 of his 92 attempts. It's crazy. It's crazy. And you might not have realized it, but it's great. And it's really helping Carolina. I feel confident now when he takes them. Just don't yap your mouth after you do it. And there was another one. Van Allen Lubin had a shot like late in the game, had a couple tries at a putback, and was missing a wide open Jay Witt in the corner. Oh, well. Another thing that was big in this game was the rebounding. Carolina started off with a 10-0 rebounding advantage, including at that point, they had only missed 3 shots and they rebounded every one of them. I mean, obviously, because Virginia didn't have a rebound. Their first rebound came 7.5 minutes into the game. There was 12 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock when finally one Cavalier grabbed one rebound. Phenomenal. Some of that is statistical anomaly, but it ain't nothing. It's boxing out. It's doing what you got to do. It's going to get balls out of your area. Great job by Carolina, and we will absolutely take that. The first half total for this game was 17-5 in favor of the Tar Heels, and when it was all said and done, Carolina finished out rebounding Virginia 35-21, including 11 offensive rebounds. And interestingly, if I remember, I'm pulling up my rebounding margin database. Yeah, Carolina against State was plus 19. So that means in the last two, Carolina is plus 19. And then today was plus 14 on the glass. So doing really good stuff there with, again, an under sized Carolina team. And today it was not Seth Trimble leading the way in rebounding for Carolina. It was Jalen Withers. So he's not just doing it shooting, he's doing it getting on the glass as well. But other guys really chipped in. Van Allen Lubin had 6. You had 5 from Seth to be the third leading rebounder. So really, really good stuff there from a whole bunch of Tar Heels adding to this victory. Now, we were just talking about, oh, and by the way, I almost forgot to say, this might be my favorite. This might be our shady stat of the game on Monday's show. Carolina had 11 offensive rebounds to Virginia's 3. The Tar Heels led second chance points 17-2. It's almost more funny that it wasn't a shutout, that they had one. And now that those 2 points was with like 4 minutes left in the game. They got, somebody drove to the rim, ball just rolled off the front, tip back, whatever, fine. 17-2 in second chance scoring. Free throws, man, we got to get there. Carolina had a 3-game stretch where they were just struggling at the free throw line. Prior to that, and including the first 2 of those 3 games, hadn't even been getting the free throw line much, right? That had really dropped off. And something I had said a lot was Carolina has to make a living at the free throw line. That is so important to this team, getting there, getting the right guys to the line. Well, now they have had 20 or more free throw attempts in 3 straight games. This 3-game stretch where they've been shooting so well from 3, by the way, and the offense has been playing so well. Coincidence? I think not. Today was 22 total free throws. But here's the other thing. The first of this 3-game stretch, they were not great from the free throw line against Syracuse last Saturday, but against NC State, 19 of 24. Today, 18 of 22. That means over the last 2 games, the Tar Heels are 37 of 46 at the free throw line. That's 80.4%. It's just so good. I want to save this for Monday's show because I want to just talk about it more, but I do want to mention here today, Drake Powell just does so many things well to help this team. Rebounding, defending, attacking the rim, threes from the court. I mean, it's just, you just see little glimpses of all this stuff all the time. So I want to talk more about that on Monday's show, but I just want to acknowledge it here, along with his freshman brother, Ian Jackson, whose confidence is way, way back. Tied, Ian Jackson did, with Jalen Withers for the team lead with 16 points in this game. Again, not back to 20, but man, just being solid and consistent. And that's what you need with Ian and Jalen Withers now doing that 3 games in a row. How important has that been? Now, another contributor, I said earlier, I've been critical of Elliott lately. Let's praise him when he does well. Very nicely managed floor game. He did not have a field goal, was 0 for 3, only 2 points, both free throws. But more important to what he does, he committed only 1 foul in this game. How often have we talked about Elliott's first half foul troubles, getting 2 of them and being relegated to the bench? In this game, had 1 foul, and it came with just 1:46 left in the entire game. So went basically the first 38 minutes of the game without a foul. Now, only played 20 minutes in this game, if I'm remembering 22 minutes in this game correctly. And so there is something there. Coach isn't relying as much on Elliott because he's not proven trustworthy. I think that's what that is if I'm reading the tea leaves there. And then in terms of turnovers, we talked about it, but only 2 for Elliott. And those were both in the first half. Why is that important? Well, you'll recall I've been talking about Elliott being on this stretch of coming in, I think it was 8 straight games of 3 or more turnovers. 2, I can live with that. 6 assists, 2 turnovers in this game. That's a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. My man Elliott, I see you, brother. That's a great floor general game from you right there. So before we get to your comments and questions, one other thing I want to say is quickly, what's next? Well, a couple pieces of good bubble news, and we'll dive more into bubble news coming out of the weekend on Monday's show, but just specific to the ACC. Obviously, we all saw it because it was the lead-in for this game. NC State did us a solid by letting us walk all over them on Wednesday, and then did us another solid today by winning at home over Wake Forest 85-73. Unfortunately, it's not a quad 3 loss for Wake. It's very close to it, though. Now we want NC State to tank again so that'll drop to a quad 3 loss, hurt Wake because they were ahead of us in the bubble. As for SMU, they had a big chance at home today against Clemson. Clemson wins in Dallas 79-69. Now, this one is a bit of a weird double-edged sword because we want SMU to keep growing in the net so that they maybe get to top 30 and it turns into a quad 1 win for us. However, they're also basically in the same area of the bubble as the Tar Heels, so them losing is ultimately good, and it's also going to get Carolina closer to hopefully getting a top 4 seed in the ACC where you get that double bye, right? Like, that's critical. Although I need to think about this and talk about it later in the week. We maybe in this scenario want Carolina to have to only get a single bye so that they're playing a good team and get a chance at more wins, more like a quad 2 or quad 1 win. Ooh, that's an interesting wrinkle I've literally not thought about till right now. I want to talk more about this. Hop into Discord with me at some point, or we'll talk about it on Monday's show. Anyway, lots of comments over there. I saw several questions popping in earlier before we got started, so that's where I want to go next. Hang tight. Let's get to it. All right, guys, taking a quick drink. Forgive me. Had an overnight retreat at church last night with our 2nd and 3rd grade boys. My son was there. I got to be part of that, and I was leading the singing for it. So my voice is kind of failing me today. All right. Man, lots of great comments right off the top. We got to start here. I hate it. So you heard at the end of the broadcast, they talked about with the changes in rev distribution to student athletes, it's sounding like the JV program is going to go away. Meaning, the reason I bring that up is because every year Milligan's JV, which is Coach Rob coaches their varsity, and Alex Bickerstaff, who's part of his staff, coaches the JV team. And I said Biggerstaff, excuse me, coaches the JV team. And so they go to Chapel Hill just about every year. One year, the Tar Heels JV team actually came to Milligan, which was pretty cool. And so I don't know. I haven't asked Coach Rob if that means that's going to end or what, but JC Fox here says, oh man, is this going to be Coach Rob's last trip with the team to the Hill? I fear that it might be, man. And I'm worried about that. And so we'll have to see. Obviously, Coach Rob will still get up there for camp every summer, give us great intel. By the way, if you're newer to the program, Coach Rob, who's with us every week, has worked Carolina's summer basketball camp for 2 decades and always gets to be part of those summer camp games, watching those, observing them, those late night runs, all that kind of stuff, and giving great feedback to us. So that's always really great. Ninja Warrior Bros says, back-to-back dominating wins. Cade has hit a 3 2 games in a row. The flagrant foul and the technical foul were horrible calls. I want to hit the first 2 of those. Back-to-back dominating wins. I need to go look back at the season and see, like, is this the first time Carolina has done it at this magnitude of domination against higher level competition? And again, I know State and Virginia aren't great, but against like ACC level competition, maybe so. Yeah, I mean, did it 2 out of 3 games, SMU and Cal, with NC State close one in between. This might be the 2 biggest dominating wins Carolina has had, especially with the stakes what they are. The eye test, Ninja Warrior Bros, and everyone else, I'm curious what you all think watching and listening. The eye test tells me this team is different, man. They're playing differently and better, more cohesively, and figuring stuff out. The offense looks better. The defense is still a little susceptible at times, but individually, there are moments when the defense is so locked in, man. Drake had some great defensive moves, Seth's individual, and so I think it is coming along for sure. And then Cade has hit 2 threes in a row. Ninja Warrior Bros. Here's the thing for me with Cade on those. is eye test looks different on that too. The 3 that he's hit and the one that he missed just before halftime against NC State on Wednesday, they looked confident. He was shot ready. He was quicker. He looked at just everything seemed Cade Tyson about it to me. The Cade Tyson from Belmont, the Cade Tyson we saw on tape this summer. I've been encouraged by that. And I had said earlier this season, I think we might have missed. And it's like maybe Cade transfers out. If this is what we're going to get, what an asset that could be down the stretch of this season and next year. Who knows? Jimmy Howard says, is the ACC tournament based solely on ACC record? I noticed we're 1 game behind SMU. Yes, Jimmy, in terms of conference tournament like seeding, it is solely based on conference record, has nothing to do with overall. So if a team goes 0-12 in non-conference play, but then goes 20-0 in conference play, they will be the 1 seed. That's how that works. So nothing Carolina did outside of ACC will factor into that. And so with the action that happened today, let me tell us, I know there's still games to be played, but as of right now, I think Carolina's probably 5th or 6th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Still, we are exactly a game behind SMU and Wake. Again, this is why that Wake loss continues to be a factor. Carolina missed that quad 1 opportunity, and because of where things are at on the bubble, that would have been big. And also now ACC standings. Had Carolina won that game, they too would be 11-5. Wake would actually be 10-6. And so Carolina would be in 4th place, tied with SMU, but having the tiebreaker over them. So again, every single time you step on the floor matters. So there we go with that. Let's find just a couple other things with that. Yeah, a lot of comments about the refs. I was with them, but whatever. You gotta figure it out and win despite what they're doing. Matthew, here's an example though. Matthew 6:24 says RJ got fisted in the face, and there was a complete no, like just the stuff that is so ticky-tacky. That's a letter of the law, whatever. I'm like, we're upgrading those, but then a dude's getting janked in his kisser and nothing. I just can't do that. The Nintendo nerd, I'm right with you, Nintendo nerd, on this one, says, whenever Virginia threatened to get it close, we pushed the lead back out. We responded every time. That's Carolina basketball. That's right, guys. The game ebbed and flowed some. Carolina would get out back to 20, and then it would come down a little bit. They'd push it back to 17 or 19 and a little bit of a Virginia run. But Carolina just kept answering everything. And so really pleased, because that's not been the identity of this team so often. And just, heck, getting to 81 against any Virginia. And I know this is not a classic Tony Bennett Virginia team, but still getting to 81 against Virginia, man, makes me so happy. And so that's good. Bobby Blanco says, who are we going to let run point, fellas? I said it last week, and I'll say it again. I still, and we saw this lineup played together today. I love the RJ Davis, Ian Jackson, Drake Powell, Van Allen Lubin, Jalen Withers 5. We got that at one point, but I completely understand why coach is still rolling with Elliott, RJ, Drake, Van Allen, and Jay Witt. But I again, let's remember, I said it earlier this week, Carolina's 2022 run was when, we'd had so much lack of role clarity and definition between RJ and Caleb Love. And then it was like, RJ, you're the point guard now. Boom, Carolina goes on a run. Let's put the ball in his hands more and more and more. I know RJ has been so good. He didn't do as much as a playmaker and distributor today against Virginia. Let me see what it was. RJ, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, so an even balance there. You'd like to see that better from him, but man, I like it better. Man, this is a great point here by Chief Cooney that says Withers should have got a warning. The players were chirping and talking when he shot it. I hear that. I'll say 2 things. Number 1, you still got to be bigger than that. I think your point here, Chief, is that the Virginia bench was chirping and taunting behind him. Probably so. You got to tune it out, man. You just can't let that get to you. You got to be bigger than that. And also, sometimes it's not just about just running your mouth. It's about the specific words you use. We obviously don't know the specifics of what he said, but sometimes you just hit that right button word that tips off the ref. Done at that point. And so it's just hard to know, and we'll deal with that. But you can't allow that to even remotely be a factor. So it is what it is there, and we have to live with it and move on, and hopefully things will you learn from that and you get better. So is what it is. Okay, again, moving forward here quickly. Again, thanks to Wake for falling today. That's big time for Carolina. I'm curious to see what Joe Lunardi does to update all of his stuff. And the other thing is now very quick turnaround. Carolina again plays on the road on the back half of Big Monday, or, on the back half of a Saturday, Monday. They'll be the first game of Big Monday. Remember, it did not go well last time. Carolina played Saturday and won against Pitt, and then had to go down to Clemson on Monday and just got blasted by the Tigers, who, again, are a phenomenal basketball. They're really, really good this year, legitimately so. But now Carolina is going down to Florida State, who is the best team they play in this 6-game stretch. And they got to be ready to go. Tallahassee is a tough place. FSU always has athletes. Jameer Watkins is a dude. And so, again, that's another reason why I wish Carolina had just been able to coast home today, is because then you just give yourself fresher legs for this quick turnaround on Monday. So I think Carolina's locked in, though. They're ready to go with it, and we shall see what happens. I hope you all have a great rest of the weekend. It's been great to be together. Thanks to everybody for tuning in with us. If you've not subscribed to the show on YouTube, do it right now. Those of you who are watching, hit that subscribe button. We are like 100 away from 10,000 YouTube subscribers. You can be the next one to help us get there. Wouldn't it be crazy if we just went on a run here? There's like 6 days left in February. Let's hit it by the end of the month. Tell your friends. Come subscribe to Locked On Tar Heels. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Insiders program, man, a great way to go next level with the show. All the stats and data and insights I share are all free on all of those charts and data points to our insiders. You also get to text directly with me, man. I think it really is a value add for our show and a great way to stay locked in to get extra perks. If you want to join the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, that link is also in the show notes. Would love to have you there chatting with literally hundreds of other Tar Heel fans. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel, especially after a third straight win. Great stuff. Right back at it on Monday. We'll recap more of this game. We'll get ready for Florida State. And then after the game Monday night, we will have another one of these. Make sure you tune in. Don't miss a second. But until then, peace.